What's going on with Kristaps Porzingis and what's the latest that we know about the Boston Celtics starting center? We're going to break that down here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Allie Barefoot. On the back half of the show, how does Boston continue to move forward without Porzingis? We do not know how long this illness is going to take over Porzingis' body. Should Boston maybe start thinking about tweaking the starting lineup if he doesn't get healthy anytime soon? We're going to talk about that right now, but first, let me ask you guys this. Go on ahead, hit that sub button for me if you want all Boston Celtics talk all the time. We go live for every single Boston Celtics basketball game, and I want you guys to go on ahead and join me. All you have to do is hit that sub button, turn on your notifications to make sure you get alerted when we do go live, and then just sit back and relax. Here's what we know about KP. He has not played since February 26th, and honestly, I thought that he just looked terrible. He had 11 points and 2 rebounds. I'm not necessarily talking about the play of his game. He just didn't look like the Porzingis that we watch on a day-to-day basis. He looked slow. He looked tired, just very fatigued, and he just wasn't healthy. So that explains that. Dealing with an unknown viral illness. They're not exactly sure what Porzingis is dealing with, nor how did he contract it. So they're trying to take the precaution to say, okay, here's when you can play, here's when you can't, because the last thing you want to do is make Porzingis feel any worse than he probably does right now. However, he has been taking up some shots ahead of games. He has been practicing somewhat, and he's also been around the team. So I've had that thought of, well, is this illness contagious? Why is he around the team? But I guess not, because he's been on the bench. He's been around his teammates. So maybe it's nothing like we've seen before, as doctors are trying to figure out really what's going on with Kristaps moving forward. So when will we finally have our center back? Because Boston has done well without Kristaps Porzingis over the last 7 games. They've only dropped 1 loss, and that was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I'm starting to think, okay, well, Boston's doing okay right now without KP, but how much longer does Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford have to keep logging extra minutes to try and keep up with Porzingis' lack of playing time? Well, Shams Charania did recently come out here and let us know about the latest update on KP moving forward. And he said, look, the Celtics are really taking it day by day with KP and this viral illness that he has. They don't quite know when he's going to return, and honestly, they don't quite know what exactly has led to this viral illness. They're still trying to get to the bottom of what exactly this is. But I am told that they're hoping to have those medical answers here in the next couple of days to see exactly what this is and when he could return to the floor. So obviously we know that we play the Brooklyn Nets tonight. We play the Brooklyn Nets on Monday. So when will Kristaps Porzingis be ready to go, and how much can he go? Are we expecting like 15 minutes per game, easing him back in? Because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm sick, my body gets thrown off completely. I have to adapt to just mundane things like walking up the stairs when I have been out of breath or when I've had the flu. So I'm sure KP needs to get his body back. But the good news is he has already started that process. Porzingis hasn't been laying in bed with a cold press on his forehead for the last 2 weeks while he's been out. No, he's been putting shots up. He's been at practice. He's been trying to get his body equipped to what it may need to handle when he is expected to come back, put on that jersey, and play for Boston upwards of 30 minutes a game. This was actually right before the Miami Heat game yesterday. So Porzingis has been making some moves, but I guess he's just not healthy enough to fully come back, but he has been gradually coming back. And thankfully, Boston, who has one of the best rosters in the NBA, they have learned to adapt without Porzingis in their starting 5. It's unfortunate, but we kind of always knew this with KP in terms of an injury risk, that you were probably going to play more games without Porzingis than you were with him, which is an unfortunate truth about a 7'3" center that is injury prone. But right now with this illness, KP has played 32 games this season. We are about to hit 70, 80 in the next month or so. So obviously, Boston should be fine moving forward without KP for however long it takes. But when should they really start adjusting to this being the new normal? Before I hop into that, let me go ahead and ask you guys this. Do the Boston Celtics need Kristaps Porzingis to win? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think yes, in a 7-game series against somebody like the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Cavaliers, I do think Porzingis would help them win. But in a regular season, maybe not. Let me know in the comment section down below. Should Boston consider benching Porzingis when he does come back? What's been working for Boston has done really well, and I would hate just to have that kind of mix-up again after 7 games of a Porzingis absence. We're going to talk about that in just 1 second, but first, I do want to go ahead and tell you guys real quick about our sponsor on today's show, and that is PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm playing PrizePicks every single game day, and I want you guys to join me and 10 million active users right now playing across the country. You guys can play PrizePicks in over 30 different states, including Cali, Georgia, Florida, and Texas. All you have to do is just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash when you play. Go on ahead and test your skills right now, collegiate or professional players. You can choose your favorite teams, your favorite guys, numerous different sports, but all you guys have to do to go on ahead and get started, just download the PrizePicks app. Use promo code CLNS. This will give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app. Use promo code CLNS. That'll give you guys $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. I don't really want to think of the Celtics having a starting 5 without Kristaps Porzingis, and I think it'd be really weird to watch them tip off and see KP healthy sitting on the bench, but maybe there is a positive to having KP in that second rotation because obviously this team is stacked. From starter to bench player, they can do numerous different rotations and still come out on top. But this is a starting 5 that we have been used to over the last 2 seasons, and typically the starting 5 that did get us a championship in 2024. But now knowing the reality that we've had with KP this year, maybe it's time to start looking at, hey, maybe Horford, maybe Cornette could play a little bit better than KP is able to right now just because of the illness that he has been dealing with. And we do typically have a very stacked center position. KP as your starter, Al Horford coming off the bench in the first rotation. Luke Cornette has been playing phenomenal against bigs recently in KP's absence. And if you really need to, Neemias Queta can jump in there as well. So KP has played 20 games with the starting 5 so far this season. And here is what it looked like. None of this is bad. 112 of an offensive rating. Defensive rating is a little bit high for my liking at 122. They're shooting 54% in effective field goal percentage. They have 47% in rebound percentage as well. And they also have 69 assist percentage per game. So the starting 5 with Porzingis is not bad. It's one of my favorite starting lineups, and it's obviously effective because it has won us a championship. But more recently, they have been leaning on Al Horford to be the starting 5 in this rotation, and they've played 23 games, and the statistics are actually a lot better. 104 defensive rating. Their effective field goal percentage is 61% compared to a 54% with KP. The reboundings are higher. The assists are higher. And I think that does have a huge credit to Al Horford. He had a double-double against the #1 team in the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Al Horford has been playing lights out recently, especially for a 38-year-old veteran. And I personally would rather see Al Horford continue being in this starting lineup with Porzingis coming off the bench. And it sounds crazy because Porzingis is better than Horford. I'm not arguing that. But what's been happening right now is he is hitting his strides while KP is unfortunately sick. You can't do anything about that. But you want KP to be an asset. And Horford's done that in the absence. Over the last 7 games, while KP has been sick, Horford's averaged 11 points per game. He's been up there in rebounding. He's been blocking, stealing, on the floor, diving for balls, nearly averaging a double-double. And his three-point percentage is electric. He had 6 made threes against the Oklahoma City Thunder over this last weekend. Horford is playing his best basketball. So why take Horford out of the starting lineup if it's been working? Especially when you haven't played with Porzingis in quite some time. But let me reiterate before I get crazy comments down below. Porzingis is obviously the better player out of Horford and Kornet and Neemias Queta. Nobody's arguing that. There's a reason why they call him the unicorn is because there are very, very, very few players at 7'3" that can do what Porzingis does. He's rare, aka a unicorn. But I do think KP would be electric in the second unit for Boston. I think that it would add an extra amount of strength to the Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser type of rotation. And I think that Porzingis, what we saw in that Game 1 finals against the Mavericks, when he came back from missing 2 series with an injury, is something I will never forget. When he dropped 20 points off the bench, had TD Garden absolutely rocking, I think he would be a really good addition with Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser. The Thunder did this the other night. They had Chet Holmgren start instead of Isaiah Hartenstein, which means Hartenstein was in the second rotation against Tatum and the bench players. Well, that's easy points right there because Hartenstein is obviously better than a lot of our bench players. He's a starter. So I think if they start to take that mentality with Kristaps Porzingis saying, hey, look, Horford's playing great right now. I don't want to mess with his rhythm. When KP comes back and you pair the three-point percentage with Peyton Pritchard and Porzingis, not to mention you're going to have a lot better rim protection with KP in the paint as well, I think that's something that Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla should really consider. So let me ask you guys this. Should the Celtics bench KP? Type B for bench, type S for start. Let me know how you feel about KP coming off the bench for the Celtics. As always, if anything happens, I'll talk about it right here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. If you guys haven't already, go on ahead, hit that sub button for me.